I moved to Austin, Texas by myself, and over the course of my first 5 months here, I found myself spiraling into isolation and depression. I am depressed. And being in such a vibrant and social city, it only intensified my aloneness. It felt like there was all this connection happening all around me, but I felt unable to tap into it, particularly as an introvert. And I really hit a rock bottom. It was dark. But that hopelessness and that desperation, it made it crystal clear to me that for the sake of my life trajectory and my well-being, I had to approach my social life in a completely different way. And over the course of just 4 months, I completely transformed my life here by connecting with other people. I was engaged in communities that I couldn't have imagined being a part of. I was throwing parties where 50 people were showing up, and I was talking to strangers, which led me to some lifelong friendships and meeting my now girlfriend, who I've been with for 1.5 years. And when I reflect on that journey from total social scarcity to social abundance, there are some insights within that I feel are worth articulating. Some are more philosophical and emotional, some are a bit more practical and tactical. And so whether you're in a dark, isolated place like I was, or maybe you just want to make a modest improvement to your social life, let's talk about how I made new friends in a new city without being extroverted or annoying. This transformation started for me with a harsh but a sincere recognition that was pretty tough to swallow. And that was that the things that I had been doing, the way that I was living, it wasn't working. My life situation was one that wasn't meeting my needs, and it wasn't one that I could be proud of. And it was simply a result of my current behaviors at the time. And so I knew that if I wanted to truly transform my life situation, that new behavior would be required. And so for this journey to even start, I had to commit to change. This recognition, it sounds simple, but it was actually pretty painful to sink into. I think I had some fantasy that by moving to Austin, as a byproduct, my social life would just flourish, right? That I would magically meet new people and they would invite me to parties. But those fantasies were really just an avoidance of responsibility. Nobody is gonna handle this problem for me. Nobody is gonna just randomly stop me in the street and ask to be my friend. And so this insight is hitting me like a ton of bricks, but I'm at my rock bottom, right? I can barely make eye contact with the barista, let alone like go out and feel confident socially. And so the reality was I needed help. And for me, I knew that meant going back to therapy and getting my mental health in check, creating a system of accountability and support, and also paying a professional to identify my blind spots for me. And so that January, I started working with my therapist. And the key insight she really brought to me early on was basically this. You know, Tyler, you're living within a really small box right now. And that box is comfortable to you. It's really safe. You know it really well. But living within the constraints of this box is not leading to the type of life that meets your needs or the type of life that you can be proud of. And so in our work together, let's just focus on little by little expanding that box, just nudging on its edges. We don't need to be grandiose. And when we were examining where I was keeping my box small socially, she helped me uncover a blind spot. She pointed out that I had never really had anybody in my apartment, in my space. And when I reflected on my life, I realized I had never really had people in my space to connect. Hosting was just outside of that box that I was living in for most of my life. And while reflecting on this, a question or an intention kind of arose naturally in me. And this question actually changed the course of my life. And it was this: what if I met enough people to throw a party? All right, so I'm still not at my mental and emotional best here, but I do have this overarching intention. I do have this North Star of meeting enough people to throw a party. And I even put a date on it. I said, hey, I want to throw this party by the end of April. So that was just 4 months away. Felt like a big goal. It made me a little nervous, but it also felt in alignment to me. It really inspired me and kind of lit a fire beneath me. And with that, I had my foundation, right? I had my commitment to making a change. I had my overarching intention and future state. And then I had accountability and I had support. And I felt like those three things were definitely prerequisites for me to make the transformation. Okay, so I have my foundation, but how in the world am I supposed to meet enough people in 4 months to throw a party that isn't completely lame? And so now I'm facing this question that doesn't just require action, it requires the right action because I don't really have any time to waste. And that urgency, that intention, really took connection to the very top of my value stack very quickly. Previously, I had often prioritized freedom or health or money as my highest value, but those had to be downgraded. Why? Like we talked about earlier, my current behaviors were not leading to outcomes that I was proud of, outcomes that met my needs. And so moving forward, all of my decisions were made through this lens. Is this conducive to my goal of connecting with people? And so with this foundation and with this value framework in place, let's talk a little bit about the more practical and tactical ways that I went about connecting with the right people and integrating them into my life. I framed this video up as how to meet new people without being extroverted or annoying. I'm an introvert. If you click this video, you're probably an introvert too. But it didn't really matter if I was an introvert or an extrovert. I knew that if I really wanted to transform my social life, it would require me to square up, to physically stand in front of another human being that I don't know, and to create that opportunity to connect. And before I talk about that act of actually squaring up in front of somebody and creating an opportunity to connect, let's talk a little bit about how I found people to get in front of. The key for me was to tap into community. One way to meet new people would be for me to go back here to the trail and stop somebody as they're walking and say hi and try to connect with them. But there's no need to really start there. No matter where I've lived or where I've traveled to, there's almost always been communities of people who frequently meet around a shared interest, hobby, goal, philosophy, whatever the case may be. And by tapping into those pre-existing communities here in Austin, it allowed me to enter a social space that's a bit warmer, right? Because I know that there's a shared commonality across everybody in the room. I tapped into community in a few different ways. The first way was I downloaded the Meetup app. If you're not familiar with Meetup, it's an app where individuals in a particular city or area can create meetups based around particular hobbies or interests. And in Austin, I was able to find a couple of groups primarily focused on 20 to 30-year-olds who were looking to meet new people. Now, as awkward as that idea kind of sounded to me, and as much as it didn't seem like my thing, I knew that it aligned with my value to connect with new people. With the momentum that I built at the meetups, I used that energy to try new communities like Latin dance. Now, dance was way out of my box. I mean, this is like a different galaxy. But I knew that it would be an amazing and novel way for me to get in front of people and literally get in front of another person and connect in a way that I just had never connected before. I even started going to group therapy. And although I know I wasn't there to, make friends with the people in the group, it's been such an amazing way to be present with other people and to do my own interpersonal work through the medium of connection. And as a side note, to aid in my effort and my motivation to get out there and connect in person, I deleted my dating apps. And from there, I made a commitment to attend at least 2 events every week. And I always tried to make sure that the event was at least moderately in alignment to my interests or my hobbies or goals. All right, so I'm getting out there now. I'm going to a few events every week. Let's talk a little bit about the steps I took to ensure that those experiences translated to meaningful connections for me. This is a bad idea. I don't have any friends. I need some friends. I wish I had friends. All right, so I've tapped into community, right? I'm going to the event. I'm walking in the door. I'm stepping into the room. There's people around. And I'm standing there, an object in the room, a vulnerable human being. Now what? Well, now I square up. If you're an introvert and you're squirming a little bit at this idea of standing face to face with a stranger you've never met, that's okay. Like, we can talk about how to effectively work through that. I think as introverts, and this applies to extroverts too, it's easy to pretend that we're just gonna magically meet a new friend or a life partner. Like, I'm gonna be at Whole Foods and this person's gonna drop a can of soup and I'm gonna bend down and grab the soup and hand it to them and bam, like a new friend or a new life partner. In my life, I've found that my introversion is a strength. It can be a superpower. But these fantasies about magically meeting new people without putting myself out there, that is not a strength. These fantasies have only been a hindrance. I knew for a fact, in order to transform my social life, I had to insert myself into reality, whether I was an introvert or not. And when it comes to that moment of entering the room, approaching a stranger, starting a conversation, my overall aim is to not overthink it. In fact, my aim is to not think at all. That moment of getting ready to start a conversation is not a moment to get lost in thoughts. Thoughts are not helpful in this endeavor at all. Thoughts might arise, right? Maybe I'm anxious in the moment and thoughts are coming up. But I'm doing everything that I can to just notice those thoughts and just let them pass away. Instead, I'm shifting my attention to my breath, my feet on the ground. I'm shifting my attention to the energy of the people in the room. I want to shift my energy from that of being the one who's being seen, being the person who's being looked at, and shift that energy into being the one who's seeing. I know that sounds a little philosophical, but I want to drop into my confidence and my values. I know the reason I showed up, I know why I'm here, and even if I'm anxious, I'm doing what I have to do. And there's confidence in that. And as I approach somebody, I want to be clear here, there's no technique to this. There might be some things that I can do to reduce the likelihood that someone feels uncomfortable around me. But there's no magic line, there's no magic pill to, ensuring that every time consistently the conversation goes really well. That said, I do want this video to have some practicality to it for those of you who maybe are brand new to connecting with people in this way. And so with that, I'll give you my approach of how I typically walk up to a stranger. It's typically variations of this. Tap, tap. Hi. Hi, my name's Tyler. Hey, what's your name? Hey, do you guys mind if I join you for a minute? Hey, it's my first time here. My name's Tyler. Hey, you looked cool. I wanted to come say hi. The most important part of this, and it might be the only thing that actually matters, is that whatever I say or whatever I do is deeply in alignment to how I feel in the moment. So it aligns with my emotional state, my personality, my vibe in the moment, that it all feels true. And this is why after I square up with somebody, the next step for me is to speak the truth. Speaking the truth is absolutely required when it comes to connecting with somebody quickly. For example, if I walk up to somebody and I say, hey, you look really cool. Or if I say, your shoes are stellar. And they say, oh yeah, why so? I should have a sincere answer to provide them. I do my best to never give a compliment like that unless I really mean it and I can explain it. But here's the thing, guys, when I say speak the truth is always available. So let's just say I see somebody, I'm not thinking, I go up and I say hi, and I say, hey, your shoes are stellar. And they say, oh yeah, why so? Even if I don't have an actual honest answer, there's still an opportunity within that moment to speak the truth. Like my truth could be, you know what? I saw you. I wanted to come say hi. I was kind of nervous. I didn't really know what to say. And I noticed your shoes, and so I said they were cool. Yeah, it's my first time here. I'm just kind of nervous, but my name's Tyler. People respond really well to authenticity when first meeting somebody. It's almost like the body and the mind has like a receptor to tell when somebody's being authentic and sincere. And the thing about authenticity and truth is that truth does not need to be cool. Like truth does not need to be charismatic. And this insight here is what I would consider social freedom. Like for me at these events, my conversations would often go something like this. It'd be like, oh, what brought you here? And my answer would be something like, you know what? I'm pretty new to Austin. In my first few months here, I kind of struggled to meet new people. And so I'm really trying to prioritize my social life and trying to go to at least one event, 2 events every week, and saw this on the Meetup app and thought I would come say hi to people. And if you think that people are going to judge you negatively when you confidently share a truth like this, I'd say that you simply haven't tried it. This is where true connection is made. It's within the vulnerability that we all share. And this is also the quickest way to determine if the person before me is somebody that I resonate with. If I show up to the conversation and I keep it surface level, or if I am insincere, how can I determine if this is a potential connection for me? I can't. And it doesn't matter if the person in front of me can directly connect on exactly what I'm sharing. You know, maybe I share that I'm an introvert, but they're an extrovert. That's fine. It's more about how does the conversation go from there? Are we able to find ways to connect through those differences? Are they showing empathy? Are they showing interest? Are they distracted and rude? And do they make me feel uncomfortable? And as I make these determinations, this is where I start to collect people. When I go through this process of squaring up with somebody, I'm not making snap judgments on them, but I can pretty quickly typically tell if this is somebody that I feel good around, that I feel connected to, that I am attracted to, versus somebody that maybe the conversation's a bit clunky and I'm not feeling super comfortable or really heard. Now, both of these outcomes are great. They're great because both align with my value of making an aim to connect with people. For the people that I'm not really connecting with so well, that's okay, but I am gonna make a graceful exit here. Now, remember, I'm trying to throw a party in 4 months. And so I'm not labeling the interaction as bad. I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but for practicality's sake, I've kind of got to move on. And that graceful exit looks something like, hey, really nice chatting with you. I'm gonna make my rounds, go talk to a few new people, but really appreciate the conversation. Have a good night. Easy. For the people I am feeling more connected to, I'm sticking with that conversation a bit, right? I'm creating enough space to get a better sense for who they are. I'm also kind of slowly revealing a bit more about who I am. And I'm essentially letting that connection play out and eventually arriving to a moment where the conversation has not burnt out yet, but I know enough about the person to feel good about the possibility of seeing them again. And finding this moment, it's a bit of a dance, it's a bit of an intuition. And this kind of goes back to the title of the video of like, just not being annoying. I know that if I'm out at an event or I'm at a bar, the person I'm talking to, they very likely want to go roam around the room. They want to spend some more time with their friends. And so by ending the social interaction at a point where we're both feeling good, it's not burnt out yet, it just shows that I have some level of like social acuity, a social awareness. I understand what's happening. And the moment that I close this conversation, it's a very important moment, right? Because I don't want this person to just disappear into the ether and never see them again. And so I need a low effort, low commitment way to collect this person. And when I say collect, I just mean making it humanly possible to stay in touch with this person after I walk away. And this is where I use Instagram as a social connection point. There are many different reasons I use Instagram instead of a phone number. Whether I like it or not, my Instagram is essentially a landing page for my life. And not only is exchanging IGs less invasive than a phone number, but it also allows both myself and the other person to, after we leave the event, to get a glimpse into each other's lives and build some familiarity with each other. This is so much better than just a random text from a random number with no name and no face attached to it. And again, some practicality for the introverts who might be new to this. When it comes to the tactical approach of how I ask for someone's Instagram in a way that feels comfortable to both of us, that ask typically has a couple characteristics. First, I give them the reason that I'm asking for their IG. I don't just ask to ask. And second, I use language that makes them feel very comfortable to say no. I keep it very low pressure, low stakes. And the reason that I give them to exchange IGs, it doesn't need to be special or grandiose. For me, it typically sounds something like, hey, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm gonna go roam around the room a little bit, but would you be open to exchanging IG so we can stay connected? I keep this really simple. I do not make it a big deal. I do not ask for a commitment in the future. And people are almost always comfortable saying yes to this. And from here, I'm just relentlessly repeating the process. You know, I'm staying committed to my values. I'm showing up for myself. I'm walking up, I'm saying hi. And what I'm not doing is getting discouraged. Regardless of the outcome of an event, I'm feeling proud. At meetups, I'd maybe find one, maybe two people that I connected with, oftentimes 0 people, and that's perfectly okay. What's amazing is 1 person or 2 people, that's actually enough, and I'll talk about why that's the case. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about the way that I re-engaged these people and why they were willing and open to, you know, becoming a part of my life. Now that I've collected a handful of people, I'm going to take an opportunity over the next days, weeks, to make an effort to re-engage with them. Now, there was an insight at this stage of the process that was actually kind of hard to stomach. And it was that I'm not special. Like, just because somebody had a really nice 5-minute conversation with me at the bar or at an event, that does not mean they're gonna be eager to hang out with me next week. Even if our connection felt amazing in the moment, that moment is gone now. That person is going about their life, they're super busy, they probably vaguely remember talking to me. And I'm not taking this fact personally. This insight is not a reflection of my self-worth. It does not imply that I am unlovable or anything like that. It's just the nature of human beings. It's just how the universe works. So what does this imply? Well, this implies that I have to offer some type of value. I have to give the person a good enough reason to allocate some of their precious time on Earth towards me. And that also implies, in my opinion, that I have to do this without being annoying. And so here's how I typically find the balance between offering value and not being annoying. First off, I invite them to something I already plan on doing. Second, I make it really easy to say no. And the second piece is kind of built in when you follow rule number 1, because if I'm already planning on doing something, the person knows that their answer does not change anything for me. And third, I ensure that whatever I'm inviting them to is something that they can easily leave. I don't want there to be time constraints. I want the person to, if they want, to be able to pop in for 5 minutes and leave, or if they want to stay for an hour, they can stay for an hour and leave. I don't want there to be any constraints on their time. And this also creates flexibility for me. It puts me in a situation where I can leave whenever I want. And when it comes to the value, quote unquote, that I'm offering the person, it does not need to be grandiose. Offering value to somebody does not require a lavish lifestyle or like super exciting things to do. I mean, I'm a chill guy, I'm an introvert. I don't have an adventurous lifestyle by any means. So here are a few examples of offering value, making it easy to say no, and making it something that they can easily leave. Hey, I found this new coffee shop on the east side that I'm excited to check out. I'm gonna go work there this afternoon. If you're in the mood to co-work and get to know each other better, come say hi. Here's the link. There's another meetup that caught my eye this weekend. I plan on heading there at 7:30 p.m. Open to joining? Here's the link. Hey, there's this free salsa class on Wednesdays at this bar in Mueller. I've never tried salsa, but I'm excited to give it a shot. If that sounds up your alley, it'd be fun to have you join me. Just shoot me a text at... All I'm basically doing is continuing my social momentum of going to a couple events every week, but I'm inviting people along. I'm putting myself in an environment where I can make brand new connections, like at a coffee shop or at a class. But it's also a space where I can continue to nurture some of these new connections that I built if they join me. I would often invite multiple people to events, and what I found over, a few weeks and months was I would go to an event and there would be a handful of people there who knew me. And the moment that started happening, I gotta say, I felt extremely proud. It just proved that the effort that I was putting in, the things that I was doing, it was working. And I essentially went from, a few weeks prior being so depressed that I couldn't look at the barista in the eye to now walking into a bar or an event and there's people coming up to me to say hi. And now all of this social momentum is something that I can leverage. I can point it at my initial question. I can actualize that initial intention. What if I met enough people to throw a party? My rock bottom was December 26th. I'm going to start taking action today and see if that journey is worth sharing. Now it is April 22nd, and it's the day. It's the day to actualize my vision. It's a day to celebrate all these amazing people that I met. And it's a day to celebrate myself quietly and just be proud of the vulnerability I went through and the level of effort that I put into making this happen for myself. I put a lot of effort into this party. I mean, I was very intentional about it. I had an event page, a landing page. I had people RSVP. I sent follow-up emails. I got everything people would need. I didn't ask anybody to bring a thing. I bought tacos, I bought alcohol, all the things you would need for a party. I'm essentially approaching the party the same way I approached building those connections. I'm offering value, I'm making it really easy to say no, and I'm making it something that they can easily leave if they want. And although hosting was way outside of my little box in the beginning, I have to say, I was absolutely blown away by how rewarding it was to bring people together like that. It was truly a transformational experience, and I couldn't believe the level of joy that I felt during the process, after the process. It really felt like a creative act to me, and I was sincerely surprised by that. And it was such a rewarding experience, I essentially started hosting these shindigs biannually. The first shindig I had about 28 RSVPs. The next one I had 52, the next one I had 58. I'm having another one coming up in April. And after hosting like this, I began to understand that by being the type of person who can facilitate connection between other people, by being that person who can create space for others and give that gift to them, it essentially created like a social compound interest in my life. Everybody has the desire to connect. Some people might be lonely. Some people might have a lot of friends, but maybe they're outgrowing their friends and they want to make some new connections. And by being the type of person who can facilitate that for people, to give people the opportunity to connect, what I found was that people were excited to bring their friends to my parties. They loved bringing plus ones. And then later down the line, they were excited to invite me to things that they were doing, right? We all want to reciprocate. And once that social snowball started, what I found was that I didn't really need to go out so often to try to build all these brand new connections all the time. I wasn't gonna stop going to events and trying to connect, but with all this social compound interest, I found that I had more time and space to allocate energy to the connections that I had made, right? I was able to go deeper with people instead of focusing on all that breadth with people. And all of this effort and intentionality, it led to some really amazing outcomes, you guys. I met my now girlfriend of 1.5 years. We live together. It's an incredible relationship. It happened because I was in that social momentum and I saw her at a bar and I went and said hi. I've built amazing friendships with men, like true brotherhood, men who are on their purpose in life, who challenge me to think and grow. There's really no way for me to articulate the glory that existed outside of my little box. I wish I could explain it to you fully. It's a bit beyond words. If you're watching this video still, I mean, something about this resonated with you. Maybe you're thinking about what your box is and how you want to break out of it and what could be on the other side of that. And I want to say that you got it. You can do it. You have more power than you think. And I know we don't know each other, but I believe in you, and I hope this video was insightful in some way. If it was, I'd really appreciate if you liked it, if you subscribed. Until next time, guys, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Peace.